Here we are looking at a beach when the tide's in, and thinking about how can I survive in this beach. Well, the tide is in, so it's going to be very difficult if we landed here to think we could get something to eat in the first 6 hours, because it is high. What I'm trying to do is just make people aware that, you know, there are things ahead in survival, and we've got to think ahead. Landing on this beach as a pure novice, I think I'm dead, you know. But I know that when the tide goes out, the rocks are going to be exposed, simply because I made myself aware of the beach. There are things to eat, but they're not the best things to eat. And if we look at the seaweeds and stuff that are lying around, it's old, it's broken free, it's no longer growing. We could scavenge and probably get a meal out of it, but you wouldn't want to live on it, to be honest with you. I just want to take you over a keyhole fire and why use a keyhole fire. So let's go and have a look. A keyhole fireplace is just a useful way. It's common sense, really. But if we look at the circle, which we can do bigger, this is done in a hurry really, just as an example, an experiment. But we'd set our main fire in this area, and we'd use the flames to cook on and spit roast and all the rest. It would be bigger, or I would build bigger anyway. I'd spit roast on this part, but I'd drag my coals into this part, which again I could extend, and I'd put my cooking pots on here to cook in the coals of the fire. So this would be my cooking area, the actual base of the key. But at the same time, I don't have to let this die down, excuse the dog. I can still keep warm, but still cook, and that's the purpose of a keyhole fire. As I say, we can make it as big as we can, that's the camera wet, and as long as we want, we can put several pots on here and continually drag the coals out to cook on the coals, Dutch oven on here, a few of the coals on top, whatever we wanted to do. But that's the purpose of a keyhole, to use a keyhole, to keep basically the fire going, to keep warm. Also we can cook and spit roast off that fire, but we've got an area we can drag the coals in to cook, and that's all there is to it. Anyway, as I say, back to coastal survival. Difficult when the tide is high, but I do know we can go down. We can lay long lines out here, we can lay fish traps out here, and there's many more things we can do to make our 12, 24, 36, 365 days happy. We are, just one thing I want to point out is, if we decided to camp at the base of these cliffs, which we're inclined to do, just beware. You can see they're eroded and falling away, and you can see behind me that the amount of tonnage that comes down when that happens, so be careful under them. You know, I wouldn't camp under them. I'd do me cooking and stuff out here, and I'd go and find somewhere that wasn't likely to landslide on and cause me serious damage. But anyway, there's not a lot I can say about this beach today. Really, unfortunately, came at the wrong time. I just want you to understand that we need to be looking in advance to things that will help us get on. We don't need to be getting here in a panic situation with no food and no water. There is water on here, and a beach is a good place to look for water, fresh water, because all the rivers run to the sea. And I haven't got one to show you here now. It's further up the beach by about a mile, but there's fresh inlets. There's also a fresh inlet down there, not with fish in it, by the way. At this particular beach, I'm going to have to do my fishing out there, you know, on a long line, on a trap, or whatever I decide to do. And that is, I will go through sea fishing traps, lobster ponds, and all the rest of it that we can lay out on high tide. It goes out here, low water goes out here for a good 50 meters, so I can lay stuff down and mark it and come back to it, you know, at low tide. Set it at low tide, come back to it on low tide, and see if I've got a feed which I can cook up my fire, build my environment. I can build a stone hut to live on, to shelter, stone walls behind, sandbanks to hide behind, away from the cliff face. That's just a quick look at a day out on the beach in a survival point of view. So anyway, this is Pete at Survival and Bushcraft signing out saying please don't forget to subscribe.